Welcome to your really quick video on covalent compounds, naming them. Covalent compounds are going to be a sharing of electrons between, I guess, two or more elements. For example, here we're going to look at fluorine, and if I just draw the Lewis dot diagram for fluorine, with 7 valence electrons, and I'm going to draw another atom of fluorine with 7 valence electrons. We can see that if this atom shares this electron with this one, and then this green one shares this green electron with the gray one, and we've got this sort of sharing, we can get a single bond. So typically that's kind of shown like this. So one pair of electrons gets shared between the two. In the case of, let's say, something like oxygen, where it has 6 valence electrons, and we need a second one. And this is common. These are part of your diatomic elements. We can get that octet rule satisfied where we get a full valence shell by sharing 2 pairs of electrons. So this oxygen will share 2 electrons. The gray oxygen shares 2 electrons. You know, we would write this out typically like this to show what we would call a double bond. So the sharing of electrons is happening between non-metal and non-metal components. So the elements that you see here, they're not found on the left of the staircase. So in terms of naming, we're going to be using our prefixes, and I've made a list of prefixes here. You can pause the video and write them down if you need. Sorry, cat just got exited from the room. You could write down these prefixes if you need. Otherwise, we write out the very first element using its full first name, like we would for ionic. And for the second one, we're going to change the ending to "ide." In this case here, nitrogen, we've got that sort of invisible 1. So we're going to use the prefix mono. And again, make sure you change the ending to "ide." So the question, should come up is, how come we didn't call this monoselenium mononitride? And that's because we do not use mono as a prefix for the first element, but definitely for the second. So let's look at this N2O. So here we have 2 nitrogens, and we're going to represent that using the di prefix. So di, and then use the full first name, dinitrogen. And then moving on to our second element, there's only 1 of those oxygens. And instead of using OO, we just use 1 O, monoxide. Change the ending of oxygen to "ide," oxide. Just as a helpful hint, whenever you're looking at a compound, you want to ask yourself, is there a metal here? Is there anything that's on the left of the staircase? And, looking here, carbon is on to the right of the staircase. So it's a non-metal. You know that there must be a sharing of electrons. So we're not going to call this monocarbon. We'll just call it carbon. And then disulfide. not sulfur, sulfide. Going on to our last one. Again, just a single phosphorus. And so for 5, I would encourage you to start memorizing these prefixes, because you are responsible for them. So something like 5 is penta. Something like 7 is hepta. That's not a usual prefix that we use in everyday English. So pentachloride. So if that's something that you need to get under your belt, make sure you pause and write those guys down. And then, of course, you might have to take the name and write out the formula. So we would see carbon out front with no mono. And so we know it's just a single C. Bromide, so bromium. But there's going to be 4 of them, tetra. So we represent that prefix as a subscript.